times. I'm telling the principals that it may be, they could easily go 25 or 50 more years as a principal and never experience anything like this again, as far as COVID goes. But who knows? So I think what we're going to do is just to kind of start, we won't do a huge series of introductions because eventually admin who are on, you'll be answering questions. So how about if we just go straight into some questions and start with there, and just to kind of, and eventually a lot of the questions should be answered, but I'm going to start with one that I got online. I'm going to have to paraphrase this one. Give me a few seconds here. I just got this one. Question is, what will distance learning look like? I'm going to keep names out of it. How will we be able to access learning modules? This one's more specifically looks like related to Parkview, maybe Roosevelt. If there is a plan for distance learning days, what will they need to be? And so as far as distance learning plans at Roosevelt Parkview, Sheena, Dan, do either one of you want to do take this one?
Sure, I'll take that. So we have created a distance learning plan for our elementary schools. I believe it's not up, or I believe it's up on the website, and if not, it will be. Mailing went out to all of our families for the elementary schools within the district as well. That gave a snapshot of what that distance learning plan looked like. I guess I don't know how to answer some more specific questions, but there was a sample schedule in there for all different grade levels as to what the expectations were for online learning and what the expectations were for students doing their work and their own learning at home. Dan, Angie, is there anything I'm missing there?
Okay, I'm gonna go to another online question and then we'll take questions from parents who are out here. We'll kind of go back and forth a little bit, see how it goes. This question is, my question is, how are faculty and teachers going to respond with children when they get upset or have a meltdown about something in school and end up taking their mask off when they're upset? Both my sons are in special ed, and I'm just wondering if they will go to separate rooms to calm down, or how will this happen? So what are we going to do with meltdowns with kids? And this could be any child, and they're uncooperative and they're messing with their mask. Any principal want to take this one right now? All right, let's go with who haven't we heard from? Todd or Lisa? What would you say to this parent?
I'll start. Todd Gripachog, I'm the Gilbert campus principal. If we have students, we're going to accommodate to each student's individual needs as best as we can, like we always do. If a student does have a particular meltdown, if they're on an IEP, if a special education student, will definitely work with their case manager and or paraprofessionals that work with that student. Secondly, if it's just regular ed student, we will take each student case individually. We can work with our counselor, they can work with me as the principal, and we will make a plan to help them calm down and get back on track.
I can add a little bit to that. Lisa Perkovich, principal here at Virginia High School. And so I'm going to answer a question that kind of is related to that as well. We know that a variety of different kids are going to have different needs. We know that some kids will be fine with the masks. Some kids will struggle with it around their ears. Some kids will do better with a clear face shield. So there was a question out there in the chat that says, are wraparound shields an acceptable alternative to masks? And the answer is yes, that as of right now, the guidance that we have is that any face covering that meets our guidance out there, which would be a clear mask, would work for students. But if they're struggling with it, Like Todd said, and like all the other principals feel, it's going to be really important for us to be giving them mask breaks. And what that looks like is getting them outside, getting them distance from one another, and giving them some time to take those masks off throughout the day to try to minimize those distractions as much as we can.
Okay, I'm looking at about 150 people online right now. So it might be better if you send me your questions to noel.schmidt@rrps.org. Here's another one. This is going to Franklin. Is there going to be a dean of student and principal in Franklin, or who is in charge at Franklin? Angie?
I think I can answer that one. My name is Angie Williams. I'm the high school Evelyn Gilbert principal, 9 through 12, and I'm also going to be the new Franklin Elementary principal in Evelyn Gilbert, K through 4. And yes, we do have a dean of students. Nikki Young will still continue to be the dean of students at Franklin Elementary. I also can address one of the questions that I did see in the chat. It was, when are student schedules going to be ready, and will there be a freshman orientation? And at the high school level, 9 through 12 here, schedules will be sent home tomorrow. So you should get them this weekend, hopefully by Saturday. Next Thursday, September 3rd, we will have an orientation for our 9th grade students coming to the Evelyn Gilbert campus, the high school level. It will be explained in this letter. It's Thursday, September 3rd from 2:30 to 5:30. And we're splitting up the alphabet of incoming freshmen into thirds. So for example, A through J will come from 2:30 to 3:30. The next part, 2/3 of it will come, or 1/3 will come between 3:30 and 4:30. And then the last group by alphabet will come 4:30 to 5:30 next Thursday.
All right, Angie, since you picked that one off the chat, we go to an email question. YMCA program. I hear there's a YMCA program at Parkview. Question is, why isn't this anywhere else? Can Roosevelt kids go? And what about Evelyn Gilbert kids with the YMCA program? Sheena, that one's probably in your ballpark.
Sure, thanks, Dr. Schmidt. There is a YMCA program, and it's K through 2. It's marked on the YMCA website. All of that is handled through the YMCA. Amanda is the contact there for that. I do believe there are some Roosevelt students that are participating in that YMCA program, but that would be a question for Amanda at the YMCA, like I said, because she's the contact. YMCA is running all of that after-school program for us here on the Virginia side of the district. And I will let Angie answer in terms of after-school care for your side of the district.
Our after-school care, we still will be offering bear care at the Franklin Elementary. So that will still be an option for parents.
Okay, I'm going to the chat questions. What about wraparound shields? Are they acceptable alternatives to face masks?
I think Lisa addressed that one in her answer because she noticed that one in the chat.
All right, we're going to skip that one. When are student schedules available, and is there an orientation?
That one was covered by me for the high school at Evelyn Gilbert.
Okay.
I can cover that one for the Virginia high school. So our schedules should be ready to drop out same time tomorrow. You'll get an electronic email and you should be able to log in and see your schedules right there, as well as whether or not we believe you've selected remote learning or in-person learning. We have transitioned in both of our high schools from a 7-period day to a 4-period block. So the kids actually end up with the same amount of courses throughout the year. They're just configured differently throughout the year. So those schedules will look differently at both high schools. Class sizes are about the same as they were before. Of course, there's a few less in the building because about 25% of the students did elect to receive that instruction via distance learning. And in most instances, what that looks like is that a kid at the high school level 7-12 in the hour that they are assigned will log into their Schoology account like they've done in the past, and there will be a link on the top with their Zoom link, and they'll click right on there. It'll be the same link every single day. It's a recurring meeting. so they'll log on during their regularly scheduled time. So if you're a distance learner or if you're in school, you're going to have very similar supply needs, you know, having notebooks where you can organize, having folders where you can organize, having highlighters and pens and pencils available will definitely be important to having success for all of the kids.
Okay, let me go to one sent in. Okay, you might have already kind of answered this. What time can working parents drop high school students at Virginia so they don't have to ride the bus? In other words, when can my kid get in the building? And how will busing work after school for high school kids at Virginia?
So district-wide, in all buildings, I believe we have a unified building open time at 7:45. And we do know that that is challenging for our working parents. We absolutely understand that, but we're forced with a situation where we cannot be having kids be communal, and we don't have adequate supervision to get them taken care of and making sure that they're in their rooms before 7:45. So that's when you'll see the door open for us at the high school. I know that's the same for Roosevelt and Parkview, and Evelyn may have to answer that a little bit differently for us.
At Evelyn, the high school and Franklin Elementary, we are looking at having the building open at 7:50. It was 7:50. That's when our first bus drops off students. It'll be at 7:50. So if we can have the parents that are dropping off kids at 7:50 as well, that would be great.
I'll answer that for Gilbert campus. The junior high and the Nelshin Elementary students can come at 7:45 as consistent across the board.
Okay, we have high school one. My kid is sitting for a long time during block scheduling. What are you going to do to help kids move around?
And I think that would be the same 7-12 across the board in all three buildings that have those students in there. But we know that an 89-minute period is certainly different than a 50-minute period. So it's critical. We're giving teachers some very specific training in workshop week when they come back to talk about brain breaks, stretch breaks, how do we get them up and moving. We're encouraging a lot of outdoor learning in the months that allow us to do that. But we'll also be using some of the larger spaces. So for example, in Virginia, our choir is going to be held out of the auditorium because of some air circulation that's better in the auditorium. So that leaves a large space like the choir room open. So we'll be allowing some of the classes to use large communal spaces like that so that they can spread out more and stretch more and get up and moving throughout the day.
Okay, let's go to elementary here. What are you going to do to help my kid get to know the teachers? What about orientation, open house, and all that kind of stuff? Things are going to be different. What are you going to do?
I'll answer that, at least part of it for Nelshin students, elementary, 5th and 6th grade in Gilbert. They will be contacted by their teacher next week to have a scheduled open house time. We're going to circulate the students through one family, one student at a time. So it will be scheduled. You'll get to meet your teacher and you'll get a chance to peek at the building a little bit. And that's what we're doing in Gilbert.
I can speak for Roosevelt Elementary. I'm Dan Johnson, the Roosevelt Elementary principal. We're following the same type of platform for that. Our teachers will be contacting each family, setting up an individual conference. So you have that actual probably 10 to 15 minute time period where you can have all those direct contact with that teacher and have any questions answered at that time.
The same applies at the Parkview. We're setting up individual meetings with those families as well to meet their teachers.
Okay, let's stick with the elementary here. Distance learning plans. What about, I'm getting like, I think I'm going to get a 15-minute lesson from my teacher. My kid's doing distance learning. That just doesn't seem like enough contact with my teacher under distance learning. So what are you going to do to help my distance learning elementary kid stay in contact. And I think this is relevant for the high school, and then we're going to go to the high school and ask the same question. So elementary principals, what are you going to do?
I'll start with that. As I spoke about that distance learning plan earlier, part of the elementary students' day is going to be online. So they will meet with their teachers 2 to 3 times a day online, talking about those lessons and the skills and things like that. They will also have recorded lessons from their teachers. So they are going to be in contact with their teachers via Zoom and through recorded lessons multiple times a day. And if you look at that sample schedule that was sent in all of our mailings, it will kind of give you a picture of what that might look like, as well as looking at our distance learning plan on our rrps.org website.
One thing to add to that, in the elementary level, the teachers will be dedicated to online students. So for example, if you have teacher A for your student, that will be their teacher, and that teacher will not have in-person responsibilities for other students. So we've got that set up pretty good district-wide.
All right, anything else on the elementary? All right, let's roll to the high school. What are you going to do for my distance learning high school kid? How many minutes are they actually going to have contact with the teacher? And what are you going to do to help my kids stay engaged?
Well, many of the students at the 9th through 12th grade level at Evelyn Gilbert will be joining the in-person students while the teacher is teaching. So they will have that contact time with their teacher.
And that's the same thing in Virginia. So you see a lot of instances where at the 7-12 level, we have 2 different scenarios. Sometimes there's a teacher dedicated to just a section of online learning if our numbers supported that. If it didn't, then you'll see some simultaneous learning, which basically means that a kid can log in from home and they join their class. So the instruction would be provided through an online model, but they would be able to interact with their classmates or interact with their teachers during the regularly scheduled class period all day. So if they had an 89-minute class, they would have 89 minutes of math that day as well. So it looks exactly the same. It's just being taken from home.
Okay, Todd, anything else to add on that? Okay, I'm combining some questions here together. Okay, my kid's in class. What am I looking at for class sizes when my kid comes back? Let's start with the elementary school. So what are class sizes looking like for in-class learning?
I can start at the Franklin Elementary. Our in-class sizes are very small. I don't have one class that is over 21. I think 21 is our largest class, K through 4 of in-person, with the smallest being 16.
At the Parkview, our class sizes are very similar to what they were have been in the past. Our classes are like 20 kids, 21 kids, 22 kids.
At Roosevelt, we're looking at right now 23 students per class. We still have some unknowns from parents and families who have not submitted what their intentions are for this fall.
Very similar at the Nell Sheen. We have 21, 22 students per classroom.
Okay, Bob Voss, are you online with us tonight? Okay, we'll catch him later. And my computer screen has momentarily frozen.
Well, I could take a question or pose it, I guess, to the group. One is 6th grade would normally rotate to different classes. Is that still happening? And it says Roosevelt.
So at the Roosevelt, they will be seeing their different teachers. I think at this time, the teachers are probably going to be the ones that are rotating to the classroom. So the students would stay in their classroom, and those, let's say the math teacher would come in and do the math, and then followed by the reading and so forth.
I'll answer that a little bit. At the Nell Sheen, students will be self-contained with their teacher most of the day. They will go see some specialist time as well.
We're getting some questions on, I'm having trouble getting in. Is this being recorded? And Bill Bryson, I think the answer to that is yes. Are we recording this, Bill?
I believe we do have that set up. We were hoping to do a live stream of this to YouTube, but we didn't have the settings correct in this video stream for that. But I believe we are recording, and we'll be posting it later to YouTube if that is the case.
All right, so if somebody can't get in, et cetera, they will be able to go back and listen to this later on. We're getting some general questions about an exposure. Somebody has COVID, a student or a staff member. How does that work? What's going to happen? Let's start in the elementary school. You have an elementary kid who's got COVID or a staff member. What do you do?
Well, I can start with that. I guess at the elementary level, if we had a student that had COVID-19, that we would, we have a COVID-19 coordinator. It's Jeff Carey, so we would inform him of that. And we also have a regional team at the Northeast Service Co-op that we also would contact. And we would make sure that follow up with who that student that has COVID-19 had contact with. And contact means you have to be within 6 feet of that person that was infected for more than 15 minutes, so that we would do some contact tracing to find out how many other students may have been near that student.
Any elementary principal want to add to that?
No, I think Angie covered that well.
All right,
I'll
high
just-
school, anything different? Oh, Todd, go ahead.
I'll add one thing. This can cover just Gilbert campus in general. We have a area designated if students have symptoms, and with the nurse, they can check in, and the nurse can do an assessment at that time. And we have an area, a specific room for students to wait for parents to come pick them up if we suspect anything is going on.
All right, anything the admin want to add about that question? Josh and Jojo, now it's your turn. We're getting questions on exposure in sports. We have a kid who's in a sport and they've tested positive for COVID. What happens in that scenario?
Well, we actually, this is JoJo Scott. I'm the activities director and community ed at Evelyn Gilbert. Can everyone hear me fine? Yeah, okay. So we unfortunately already had this happen on our girls tennis team here at Evelyn Gilbert. As soon as we were notified, we drop an email to an address through MDH. And then from that point, the MDH, whoever is assigned to your case, we emailed back and forth. I then called the worker from MDH, and they were really good, gave me step-by-step on what we need to do, had to contact trace who all in that tennis pod had possibly had contact for up to 15 minutes within 6 feet. Once you narrow that down, then there are 2 different letters that MDH will give to the school, whether it be the elementary, high school athletic director, and then those need to be sent out. If you are in that close contact group, you are then quarantined for 14 days from the last date of contact with that student. So in our case, it went back to last Wednesday, so 14 days from there. So we are out for a while, but just making sure that everybody's safe and taking every precaution we can.
Josh, do you want to add anything to that?
No, that that's the proper protocol, but we also have had some cases here in Virginia where it's not a member of the team, but it's a member of the immediate family. So if an immediate family member is COVID-19 positive, that everybody in that family needs to also then be quarantined for 14 days. So those athletes, we have 3 athletes right now that are quarantined for 14 days because an immediate family member is positive.
And a lot of parents were asking from the tennis team, how do I know if my student needs to be tested? It isn't really laid out exactly what you should do. So I would say you could either wait for symptoms, but if it were my son or daughter, I would probably get them tested right away, just because I feel like you can be a carrier and infect other people. So.
Same with the students that are being quarantined for us. We encourage all 3 of the parents to get their son or daughters tested immediately.
Okay, we got a question here. This one I can probably answer. I'm hearing a rumor that school is starting 2 weeks late. Is it true? No. School is scheduled to start September 8th. School is not starting 2 weeks late. All right, on to the next question. This is for Sheena. Wants a little more info on how are kids getting picked up and dropped off? Do I go to their classroom? Or can you tell me a little bit more about how that pickup is going to, and drop off is going to happen?
Yep, I can. And you parents, when you come in for open house, will get a whole sheet on the pickup and drop off process. Drop off is going to be a little bit different this year. We're going to utilize the playground side of the building and different doors per grade level. And like I said, that'll be laid out. So kindergarten will go in one door, first grade will go in a door, second grade in a door, pre-K in another door. So that'll be the drop-off process in the morning, starting at 7:45 is when our doors will open. And the pickup process parents will not come into the building. We're looking at putting our kids in the socially distanced in the cafeteria, having a split time. Kindergarten and pre-K getting picked up at 2:30. First and second grade getting picked up at 2:45. By the cafeteria door that's near the corner of the building, not the main entrance, but near the corner of the building. And there'll be an adult at that door helping you to get your child. We just ask that people park and socially distance themselves to come and get their students. But like I said, I will have that all laid out on a form for you or a handout for you when you come in for open house.
Speaking of the elementary, Todd or Angie or Dan, do you have anything specific to pick up or drop off that parents should know?
At Franklin Elementary, students have always come into different doors. There's 4 doors, and in the past, students would come in at different grade levels, were assigned a door. So instead of using 3 doors, we'll use probably the 4 doors this school year. And the biggest thing is that at the end of the day, parents would come in and wait to pick up their kids, and that will So that will be a big change and a big adjustment for those elementary parents. They will have to wait outside for your child at the end of the school day.
I'll add the Nell Sheen in the morning drop-off. Typically, all 5th and 6th graders go to the playground area. We'll continue that procedure. If they come off the buses, they will walk there as normal. If they get dropped off by parents, we're going to have parents drop off on that end of the building and go through the staff parking lot and exit out on another street. So you can drop your student off right by the playground at the Nell Sheen in the morning.
At the Roosevelt, we'll have drop off for parents in front of doors number 12 and 14. 7:45, the doors will open. We're asking them that students come into the building and go right to their classrooms. On the first week, for sure, for the third grade, I know there's some questions about 3rd graders. We will definitely have staff out there meeting those 3rd graders and helping them get to their classroom. We will also have information on the parent open house or those individual conferences next week.
And just one thing to add for the Nell Sheen, students will be brought in from the playground by their classroom teacher directly. They will not go through the main entrance, door number 3 as usual. They will go through door number 1 at the Nell Sheen, and they will be staggered.
Okay, let's go on to the next question. And by the way, parents, every once in a while, out of the corner of my eye, I can see a cat or a dog fly across some screen. Right now, it looks like the cats and dogs are tied as far as what's the most popular pet out there. This one says, as a distant learning parent, I think the schedule looks great. Good job. All right. Let me find a question. What are they doing for Virginia freshman orientation? We only heard from Evelyn.
That's great. I can address that. So right now, our building size is significantly larger than in Evelyn Gilbert. So our 7th grade has a very dedicated school orientation time, and that information has been sent out to the 7th grade parents. The 8th through 12th grade parents, we are asking if you feel that it's beneficial to your family and your child for them to come in. We do ask that you just call the main number and schedule an appointment. We'll make sure that we can keep those numbers low, and we'll have you come in at an assigned slot rather than having everybody come in because we cannot handle those numbers for orientation. So just reach out to us if you'd like a time.
All right, this is a new one. Lockers. What do kids do since they can't use the lockers? Where do they put all their stuff? And I assume this is more for the high school.
Yes, at the high school level, we are not issuing lockers unless it's a necessity. So if you think your child needs a locker, you can contact either one of the high school offices in Virginia or Evelyn Gilbert. But the whole reason for not having lockers is because we know that that's one site. If kids will hang out at their lockers and they commingle, and so we want to try to avoid that. We want kids to come to school and go straight to their class and not hang out in the hallway. Students are allowed to have a backpack with them, and they can also wear a jacket to class if they choose to. So that would be a new exception to our rule. We never had jackets or backpacks before because we had lockers. But since we're taking the lockers away, they can have a backpack and wear their jacket to class.
Okay, next question. If we start with distance learning, but numbers improve, can our children start back in-person learning time? So I'm starting distance learning, but I want to go back to in-person learning. Can I do that? How does that work?
I know I had a family, a parent call me about that. And of course, we're going to take everyone case by case. And if we can have the room in the regular classroom, and like right now at Evelyn Gilbert, any of my in-person classes definitely have room for more students to be in. So I don't think it's going to be an issue at the Evelyn Gilbert campuses.
And in Virginia?
So if you're wondering in Virginia or even in Evelyn Gilbert why we're doing so many simultaneous classes at the 7-12 level where they don't have a dedicated teacher to online, this is one of the prime reasons. We've heard a lot of parents say they want the flexibility. They don't know if their kid's going to get ill and need to stay part of that same class, or maybe their model that they chose isn't working for them. And a simultaneous model allows a little bit more flexibility to bounce back and forth between the two, because they still just take a seat in the room. There's still only 30 kids in the class. 15 might be home, 15 might be in person. So it allows for more flexibility in that particular model for us.
Okay, Todd, here's a specific question for you. 6th grade, Nell Sheen. I hear there's 2 classrooms with 24 kids in each class. How is that going to work with 24 kids in each class, and who's doing the distance learning in that 6th grade?
That is not actually the number. I believe it's closer to 22 for each classroom. And we do have larger classrooms for 6th grade. The students who are doing online learning in 6th grade, I believe the number is 11 as we speak. They will be taught by a teacher, Lori Lalonde, and they'll be shared with some 5th grade students online.
Okay, Sheena, your turn. You talked a little bit about this. This is a different twist though. Drop off and pick up at Parkview is a nightmare. We haven't had that word yet. How are you going to handle the increase of parents dropping off and picking up their children this year and avoid traffic backing up through the intersection? What are you going to do?
Well, I would agree. It is a nightmare, and I've watched that happen, which is why we're choosing to utilize the other side of the building along the playground side. So it's kind of like a bus loop, but you're not really looping. You're going to go up through the parking lot, through the playground area, through the gates. They will be opened in the morning between 7:30 and 8:15, and then they'll be closed and locked again. And you'll exit out through the park area. So I'm hoping that the traffic going to that side of the building and not in front of the building is going to reduce that congestion that we have in the parking lot, which is why we're staggering those doors in the morning. And then in terms of the afternoon part pickup, that's why I'm staggering the pickup time. I'm having two classes or two grade levels, excuse me, being picked up at 2:30 and the other two picked up at 2:45 to try to alleviate some of that traffic jam situation.
Okay, next question here. This is, okay, let's say that we're going from hybrid to distance learning or going from in-class to hybrid. How am I as a parent going to find out about this? How are you going to let me know if situation is changing dramatically? I can probably answer that one. We're probably going to send out some type of bright arrow message that day. We'll try and give you as much lead time as we can, but this would be a message we would send out to all parents and all students. And we would try to give you lead time, but something could happen within 24, 48 hours. It could change that quickly if there's a cluster that suddenly starts developing. And we would do that quickly because if we don't do it quickly, it increases the mathematical likelihood that COVID will increase. So we'll probably try and shut it down fairly quickly. We'll try and give you as much reasonable lead time as we can, however.
I have a question. Sorry.
Yep.
My name's Ricky. I have two boys. Well, one that goes to Parkview, the other one that actually will be starting Parkview, but he's going to have an in-home teacher. Now, with the whole virtual learning thing, that's how we had our son Joshua set up. Are they going to be still doing, like in the beginning of COVID, are they still going to be doing like sending packages to us that whatever the kids learn in class, are they going to send it to the parents? Or do we have to pick that up throughout the school year since they'll be virtual?
Principals, you want to answer that?
Well, I think we're going to try to do as much as possible electronically with Schoology as the platform for them to receive those packets.
And that'll mostly be the same learning in the classroom of what they get for Parkview, pretty much.
Can you repeat that again? I guess I missed a little bit of that.
So whatever the kids are learning in Parkview, like you're doing like if some parents that want to do virtual learning, okay, like our son, we're going to do virtual learning. The learning that you're going to have in the classroom, are you going to have the parents get packets and pick them up so they can learn it at home as well? Like if they're doing activities or whatever.
Sure. So what the students are getting virtually, if they're distance learning, and what they're getting in the classroom is going to be very similar. And in terms of packets of paper and things like that, it will probably be a little bit different depending on who your teacher is. Like Angie said, we're trying to keep lots of it virtual, but there may be times, it won't be every week, but there may be times where there's some things that you need to pick up to help you with the lessons that they're working through.
High school principals, lunch period. Can you clarify high school lunch? I heard it's open, then I hear it closed, then I hear it's open. What is really going on with high school lunch?
I can take that one to get us started. So you're right. That's exactly what happened. It was open, it was closed, it was open, it was closed, and there was some confusion around that. There's a lot of feelings around what lunch looks like. So right now what we have is at the 7th through 10th grade levels, right, 7th through 9th grade levels. Is that correct, Angie? 7th through 9th? Okay, 7th
Yes.
through 9th grade levels, that is closed lunch. And what lunch looks like in 7th through 9th grade is that hot lunch eaters will still be able to go down to the cafeteria, and we have marked that out in a socially distanced manner in which we can have about 200 students in there about 6 feet apart. We'll be using some of the hallways, we'll be using tables in there, we'll be using alternative locations right next to the cafeteria so that they can still get hot lunch. Our cold lunch eaters in grades 7 through 9 will stay in their classrooms, and they will eat with a classroom teacher spaced out in there. So they'll have a little bit more room, and maybe they're allowed to take their masks off, obviously, when they're eating and drinking something. So that should help with 7 through 9. But at the 10 through 12th grade level, that is open lunch right now. Open lunch basically means they're still allowed to leave campus like they've always been able to do. Of course, those other two options are still available. If they want to eat hot lunch, the cafeteria in a socially distanced manner is available to them. Cold lunch, they can stay in a classroom and they can still eat just like 7, 9, but they have a third option at 10, 12 is to leave campus. That being said, there's two caveats to that. The first one is if we have reason to believe that kids are not handling the responsibility of staying socially distanced at lunch, we may need to revoke that back in. So there was a lot of conversation about, are we sure that this is a good idea? And we're not sure right now, but we're going to believe that our 10th through 12th graders have the responsibility to handle this enormous luxury to leave campus. But the other caveat is that in 10th through 12th grade, if we switch to a hybrid model, when we get to a hybrid model, lunch does close down, and that becomes a little bit more secured within the building, because that means that our numbers in the county are rising and we need to be more protecting. So I did see a comment in here. It says, cannot leave campus, Lisa. The school board said closed campus. That is not actually what happened at the school board meeting, to the best of my ability or to the best of my knowledge, and Dr. Schmidt can correct me. But we had a conversation about that, and what I just talked about was 10, 12, and the caveat is I believe what they landed on Monday night. Dr. Schmidt, can you confirm that?
Yep, school board decided to keep it open. However, if the kids did not cooperate, if they were not following social distance, then and not obeying the rules, we would then shut it down and it would turn into a closed lunch. I got a question here. I'm about 10 minutes behind on questions. This question has to do with how many kids are you letting in one classroom if they're supposed to be 6 feet apart? We talked about class size, but how close or far away will kids actually be? I know you've removed a lot of stuff from the classrooms, principals, but how close are the kids? Are they a foot apart, 5 feet apart? Where are they? How many feet apart are they?
The current guideline for in-person learning, students do not have to be 6 feet apart. However, in most classrooms, we are going to strive for that. It will not be possible if we're all in-person learning to have 6 feet between all the students. With masks and proper distancing and removal of some unnecessary furniture and items from classrooms, we hope that we can really nip this one right away.
And I'll add to what Dr. Schmidt said. Sorry, Todd. When he says we removed a lot of stuff, for those of you that have been to the Parkview, our teachers have removed a lot of stuff. So our rooms are pretty much, shelving is along the edges of the room, and the rest of the room is a big open space. So our desks, although I haven't taken a tape measure in there, I would say they're close to that 6 feet apart.
Just to add, if we go to hybrid learning, we will implement, because of half of the students being here, we will go to that 6 feet social distancing if we get into hybrid.
Okay, here's a new question. I'm going to slightly change it to protect the identity of the writer. I have a 4-year-old. It's been a challenge getting my 4-year-old enrolled. How do I get enrollment forms, and how does distance learning look for a 4-year-old?
Dr. Schmidt, I'm just going to ask you to please forward that message to Shannon Cush, our early childhood coordinator, and we will get on that right away.
Okay, but is there distance learning for 4-year-olds?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
That will be an option, and if you're on the Gilbert campus for preschool as well, you will be contacting Shannon Cush Jeffrey as well to get enrolled.
Okay, just made a quick note to myself there. I got a note, email says a person should not get tested until 5 to 7 days after contact exposure, must quarantine full 14 days regardless of negative test. This one I'm going to identify who said it. I think she'll be okay with this. It's our school nurse. So our school nurse is saying a person should not get tested until 5 to 7 days after contact exposure, and they must quarantine full 14 days regardless of the negative test. Let's see. Next one. How do we let the school know whether we want to do distance learn or send my kid back to school? What do I do?
You can just contact the offices at each school.
Let us know ASAP.
What about lockers for band and orchestra? What is happening with instrument lockers?
I can take that one. That's a good question. So there was another question about what music looked like earlier. And so when we made the difficult decision to go to a block schedule, that ultimately meant that some of the courses that we've enjoyed year long became a semester in length. And we know that that's not the ideal situation, but we had to make some difficult decisions to make sure that we were being safe this year. So music for us, we see that one semester band 7 might be happening, but a different semester band 8 is happening. One semester concert band is happening, but a different semester symphonic band. So we've really reduced the quantity of band students by half. So we're confident that between storage in the classroom and the music storage in the music hall, that each student would be able to have their own space to store their instrument if that's what they choose to do.
Here's a question. Principals, you kind of touched this a little bit. It has to do with class sizes being similar to in past years, in-person learning. What are you going to do to ensure kids are kept at least 6 feet apart in the classroom? You want to add to what you've said already about that?
I'll just add one thing. Typically, we have kids moving around and switching teachers and different things throughout the day. They will be self-contained with their teacher throughout the day here at the Nell Sheen. And another thing, just to add, at the secondary level, we went to block scheduling to eliminate so many passing times throughout the day. We'll only have 3 passing times, and students will be, there'll be markings in the hallways and on the floor and on different pieces of furniture throughout, reminding everyone to social distance.
Okay, I've got about 8 questions that I've got to go through. Let's see how close we can get to getting them all. I know officially we said about 10 more minutes. Open house.
I have a question if I can say anything.
Sure. Yeah.
You talked about the band and going each grade level, which is fine. Is it going to be the same thing for choir? And are they going to be in the auditorium like they discussed on the email?
That's a great question, and I can answer that one for you. So it is the same thing for choir and for our orchestra. They are all the same, handled the same way with being just a semester. Choir is being held in the auditorium to make sure that the space is large enough and that our ventilation is large enough. The guidance that we have right now is that in orchestra and band, the rooms that we have and the ventilation that we have there meet the guidance that we feel will keep kids safe.
Right. Okay. And then, okay, here's an off-the-wall question. If I'm keeping my child home, would she even be able to be a part of the choir part of it that she has been in the past?
Can you ask that one more time?
Since my daughter's be staying at home, is she still going to be able to be part of the choir,
Great question.
even practicing? Because I know it's hard to do it over an iPad by practicing singing or anything, or she be able to come to that just one class?
Great question. And yes, she can do either. So in trying to be as flexible as we can, students
Okay.
that to participate virtually can. But if they have their own transportation, they also can come in for their music course. As long as they follow the guidance that we have in place and have their own transportation, we welcome them to do that.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, Lisa and Angie, this one's related to music. The question is, what about the length of music classes? Are they going, we're doing a block schedule, I hear. Are they going half of the year, or are they going the full year, or what's happening with the length of the music and band courses?
All of our courses, including band, choir, will be 89 minutes long. So a 90-minute block for a semester. Or half the year.
We do know on there as well that we know it's important if you are a vocal specialist or you're playing an instrument. We know that playing those things all year long is critical to being successful. So our teachers also still provide the lessons that they've done in the past in kind of those one-to-one or small group, just like they've always done in the past, to maintain the playing throughout the year as well.
Okay, Bill, this is a question for you. Technology, Zoom takes up a lot of bandwidth. Do students have a dial-in option in case there's an internet issue? And also, will Zoom classes be recorded to watch at a different time?
Yes. Yeah, so my name is Bill Bryson. I'm the technology director for the school district. Yeah, Zoom does take quite a bit of bandwidth, but we're hoping that a lot of our distance learning classes are going to be able to be done with smaller groups at a time, so it'll be less video streams. But yes, there will be a dial-in option on every meeting. Every meeting will also be recorded and posted to Schoology into the courses, the teacher's Schoology course, so it'll be able to be viewed later on as well.
Okay, all right, I just opened up a question. You've already answered it. When will bus schedules be available? I think in Evelyn Gilbert, we are mailing them the bus schedules because they've always been mailed home. They're getting mailed home to Evelyn Gilbert. In Virginia, they're going to be actually mailed to you also. So you're going to get both schedules in the mail. And we're also mailing to all parents and kids the Welcome Back newsletter. So you all should get that here in the mail. That'll be full of information that will help you. Let's see. I just got a couple, then we'll go for questions from anyone in the audience. This is just a reminder that face shields do not replace masks, but are added protection for eyes, skin, face. Face masks are the primary mode of protection, not face shield. And a reminder that face shields must extend below the chin. They got to wrap around the face to the ears, and they've got to cover the forehead. And I don't think I have any more. Wait a minute. Nope.
I do see a question that was missed that I could answer. It is, were class options reduced to COVID-19? You know, especially at the high school level. And no, they have not been reduced at all. In fact, we went from a 7-period day, which there'd be 14, because you got first semester, second semester, 7 times 2 is 14 classes that they can choose from, to the 4-period block, which now they have a 4 times 4, which is 16. So there's actually more flexibility in their schedule. So I was able to offer a couple more courses that students could take because of that added period, 2 periods actually, from 14 to 16. So there has not been a reduction, and you'll see the classes that your child has selected, they're more than likely were able to get them because more options were available.
And high school, what's going on with arts and speech and acting and things like that?
I'm assuming we're talking about the activity portion of it or the class portion of it.
I can't tell. So why don't you handle both of them?
Okay, I'm going to toss it to Jojo and Josh first to talk about what activities look like after school, and then I can follow up if anything is needed for class.
For like speech, for example, and all the winter activities, we have not gotten any direction from the high school yet what that will look like. I have heard, like for speech, for example, that would be all virtual meets. So where you would just do your speech from your own school and then send it out. That's what I've heard, but we have nothing for sure yet what that will look like for any of our winter activities or winter sports right now.
Okay, I do not have any more questions on my email right now. One thing, then we'll go to questions from the audience. Kind of a reminder, this is from our nursing staff. If a student is sent home with specific symptoms, but is not seen or tested, if the parent has an explanation for the system, can the school take the parent explanation? So the question is, you don't know whether your child has COVID, but they have symptoms. So is the school what is the school going to do? Here's the answer. If the symptoms match the COVID guidance for exclusion, it's treated as possible COVID until we know for sure what it is. We're going to tend to err on the side of caution. And if the student is excluded, if it's positive, it's 10 days, 24 hours, fever-free, symptoms included. And we will need a written note from your child's healthcare provider, noting alternative diagnosis or other symptoms to clear the kid so we know it's not COVID. In some cases, if it's not COVID, we might ask for a note from your physician just so we know, okay, it's not COVID, we've got a green light here. Questions from the audience?
I have two questions. So the first question, with the kids that are doing distant learning, how are you going to provide them lunch through that time? I mean, is there going to be like the last time where buses go out and you got to be on a certain block to collect lunches? I mean, I know Parkview did that before, and Virginia School did it too. So is that still going to be the same as the beginning of it?
I can probably answer that one. We are looking into, Richard, we're looking into what our options are for that. My best guess is that if we are delivering lunches, it's probably, and it's from distance learning, and we need to do that, it'll probably be delivered via Suburbans rather than a school bus. That's my guess what we will do. But more.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Okay. The second one is in the future. This is mostly in the future. I mean, I don't know if you're communicating. When will you know that actually when the schools will be safe to be fully open in the future?
I can probably answer that. We're following fully safe. We're following the guidelines given by the state of Minnesota, Minnesota Department of Education. There is no such thing as fully safe. It doesn't exist anywhere in life. So we believe that we have the buildings locked down fairly well. We believe we have plans in place to take care of COVID cases when they pop up, and they will pop up, to immediately get adults and kids into self-quarantine. So we feel we have a pretty good handle, but we'll be using the guidelines from the state and St. Louis County COVID case, the incident rate, and if it stays low, and if we use our head and stay away from people from other states to other towns and wear a mask, it'll go a lot better. So I'm hoping for the best.
I'm hoping for the best for you guys too.
Thank you.
Other questions from anyone?
I have one more.
Go ahead.
Since the distance learning last year, we just still had lots of problems with them actually doing the online videoing with their teachers. Has that issue been able to be somewhat resolved so they can, are they going to have the virtual classroom when the classroom is actually going on, or is it going to just be recorded for them for later?
So we did make a change in the video conferencing platform that we used last year, at least on the Virginia side. Evelyn Gilbert did use Zoom last year. Virginia used Big Blue Button. We switched away from Big Blue Button over to Zoom, which we feel should provide a better, more stable platform. Zoom does have its moments from time to time where it struggles a little, but overall it's a pretty solid platform, and we expect a better experience for our students with that. Depending on the age of your child, we have full-time distance learning teachers for the elementary grades. That's the only thing they do. They only work with the distance kids, and so their lessons are targeted for that. And I'll let Lisa kind of talk about how, and Angie talk about how their high school teachers are going to be handling distance-based students.
Well, I know at the high school at Evelyn Gilbert for 9 through 12, like I said earlier, many of the students will be, distance learning students will be joining the students that are in person getting the instruction at the same time.
Awesome. Okay, I was worried about that because sometimes when they do math or something, they're like, I have no idea. And I can't help them because I'm not smarter than a 5th grader. So so it's nice to know that that part will be a little bit different for them this year, and I have more confidence in it then too. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to
I have a
quickly
question. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
No, that's fine. Go ahead if somebody needs to add. Hello?
Hello. One of you is we're having a hard time hearing. You're breaking up.
No one else.
Can you hear me?
No.
Nancy, you're kind of on a low bandwidth connection, I believe. If you could put your question in the chat, we could try to answer it that way.
I just wanted to quickly add on the athletic side. This is JoJo.
Okay, it was regarding,
Nancy, you're going to have to send us your question. We can't hear you. Jojo, could you go ahead and continue?
Josh and I just wanted to add that with more and more positive cases popping up around here, our athletic trainers, we have one on each campus. They are now, I guess, self-checking or screening with a questionnaire for all the students. It's just a QR code that they can do on their phone, and they're checking symptoms that way. So.
Okay, I have a question that came in. We have multiple kids who are sick. Does everybody need to stay home, or just the one who is sick?
shoot, I only got one bar. Can I hear you? Yeah, I only have
I'll answer that one. The answer is if it's COVID, everybody needs to stay home. If they're just sick and normal sick, no, the sick one should stay at home like you would flu season. And sometimes kids just have allergies and it looks like the flu, but it's not. If they're able to come to school, they should. We will do our best to figure out the ones who are just allergy and the ones who are COVID, but it'll get a little tougher in the winter time when the flu season hits. That's for sure. I have another question that's popped in. Just so everybody knows, we're kind of on overtime right here. So we'll keep going and answering questions as long as you're okay with this. Question is, this is probably for Josh and JoJo, outside staff. Are they allowed in the building for extracurricular activities offered to high school students? And I assume that could be a coach or somebody offering an after-school class. Could be through community ed. This is specific for high school kids. Are they allowed in the building?
If they're coaches, yes, for sure. Coaches that are not on staff will still have to be able to coach their athletic teams. And yes, we do have some community ed classes that will be taking place where our outside staff will be coming in to teach.
It's fine again.
I can add to that a little bit, Josh, just on the community ed side and the community ed and rec department side. We will not be having any activities, I guess I could say with heavy breathing, any sporting activities in either the Virginia High School or Evelyn Gilbert High School gym or gym area or weight room. Like Josh said, we will be having a few smaller community ed activities, but those are mostly classroom based, limited to probably around 8 to 12 students. With masks 6 feet apart.
All right, if you, because there's about 175 people on here, I'm gonna do first call, second call for questions. The easiest way thing, honestly, is to send them to me at noel.schmidt@rrps.org. And then I'll read them. I'm not skipping any questions, so if I've missed any, I apologize. I don't think I have, but I'm not doing this deliberately. I'm trying to process these as fast as possible. Here's another one, high school principals. Does the block scheduling mean students have a year's worth of subject in one semester? And something like honors math, does that mean they have honors math all in one semester?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, I do not have any questions. If you have any last call for questions, I'll give you about 15 seconds or so to send me any questions in, and it'll just be easier that way, unless you, and then I'll read them. Okay, I don't have any more questions. I'd like to thank everybody for attending tonight. We've had anywhere up to 175, my quick math counting. So thank you very, very much. This will be online. We are recording it, so you can tell your friends, buddies, neighbors. If they want to listen to it, they certainly can. And Bill, where would they go to find the link for this meeting?
We're going to be putting on our website, rrps.org, which is currently down. Thank you everyone for going to it at the same time. And once we get that squared away with a little bit better hosting caching, on our website, on the main bar, we're going to have a menu item for a live stream area. And that's where you'll be able to go in the future and watch our live school board streams, as well as any archive streams there as well. We'll post them under that link. Should be pretty easy to find.
And Bill and our principals on a stress scale, they're probably at 10.5 on a 1 to 10 measure right now, just because of trying to get everything. It's the COVID, then it's also the consolidation and bringing things in together. But this will be much, much easier doing this now than doing it when we're going into the newer buildings. Thank you everybody for attending tonight. We do appreciate. We know these are difficult times. We know that things can change quickly. We are hoping that folks in the community use common sense, and we're hoping that they use the masks. We're hoping that they stay away from people from other states, and they stay away from people who are from gatherings which involve people coming from multiple parts of the states or from other states, because that's where the COVID is being spread. And yes, this includes high school parents. If you can keep your high school kids away from parties, that would help us greatly also to prevent the spread of COVID. So do what you can. I really do appreciate it. If you have additional questions, please contact the building principal. Is probably the best person to go to, but you can certainly give me a call or shoot me an email at any time. So thank you very much, and everybody have a great rest of the evening.
Thank you for all you do.
Nice job, everybody.
Thanks, Brandy.
Thank you.
Happy start to the school year too, by the way.
Thank you.
See you guys later.